welcome back, everybody, to another new episode of A Whole New World. Well, we're finally back in the studio. Yeah! Hey! I am your host, Jacob New, and we are here to put a spotlight on the positive things happening and developing that positive mindset. So, as always, we love to start every episode with a dad joke. And so, without any further ado, what do you call crystal clear urine? 1080p. Nothing like a little potty humor. Oh man, that tickled me. We are very fortunate to have back on the show with us Richard Cavaness, the author of The Gratitude Effect. Thank you for being on the show with us.
Very glad to be here. And that joke's got us going, that's for sure.
Who said you need to grow up? Oh, man. So much has happened since the last time we have been on the show. So tell us, what is new in your world?
What's new in my world?
Yeah.
So, just like everybody else, kind of maneuvering and steering my way through some of the new changes that are happening in our culture and our society, obviously, with the whole COVID-19 and quarantine and just all of that. But, it's interesting because from my perspective, you turn on the news and virtually everything that they start with and everything they end with is fairly negative, right?
Yeah.
So it's always about how many people have died, how many new cases, how many of this, how many of that. And, from my perspective, of course, trying to take more of a positive mindset towards it and have positivity.
Which isn't always easy.
It isn't. It isn't. No, you're right, it isn't. But I've tried really hard during this time to look for opportunity, to stay as positive as I can. As a matter of fact, I've even acquired a business during this time.
Oh, okay.
Which most people would tell you. What would most people say?
No.
Really bad idea, right?
Yeah.
But it actually was a great idea, and it was something that really just opened up, and it just worked out, and so I'm very excited about that. And so I guess what I'm saying is that even in the worst of times, if you're looking for something positive, you can find it. If you're looking for something negative, you can find that too. So I've made the choice, which we all have the power to do, to make the choice to be positive and to be more opportune. Look for more opportunities, and because there's a lot of them there now. Even though there is some challenges that we face in the business community, but there's a lot of opportunity right now as well.
And it's so, you touched on how the media paints everything, well, not everything, but a lot of the things that they is very negative. How is it that you're able to find the positivity? And so do you have a trick? Is it you just write it down? How were you able to?
It's a great question.
Navigate?
Yeah, it's really, there isn't tricks to being positive and having a positive mindset. It's a state of mind, and it's a choice that you make. So, when you wake up in the morning, one of the first decisions you can make is, I'm going to make this a great day today, or this is going to be a great day today. Instead of waking up and thinking, oh, another day, or I've got to do this, or, oh boy, we're stuck in the house today, or whatever it may be. There's lots of opportunities today, whether it's online businesses, whether it's doing things for calling people on the phone. I mean, there's a lot of things you can do.
Yeah.
And then just looking for just opportunity. Having that kind of a vision rather than thinking, everything's falling apart. Looking at it from a perspective of, hey, what's the opportunity here? We all face adversity and defeat in our life. I mean, that's just part of life. Life's up, life's down. Hills and valleys and mountains and peaks and, way down in the bottom. It's just all of that happens to all of us. It's just that what happens is with a positive mindset and having more of a positivity in your life, instead of having things be extreme, so it's either a mountaintop experience or it's the depths of the valley.
Yeah.
It's something more in between, and it's more even keel. So yes, you can go up, but the ups are you take the ups and you're grateful for them, but you don't get overly like over the top.
Mm-hmm.
And then when things don't go your way, you don't fall into despair. You just kind of pick yourself up and kind of move on. So it's you try to be more level. It's a little bit more of a balance.
It's almost like kind of keeping yourself in check.
Yeah.
Kind of.
Yeah.
I think it's very interesting that you bring up the fact that it's a choice. And I've been thinking a lot recently about the glass is half full. And this is going to sound silly, and a lot of people are probably like, oh, I realize why. But I'm sitting there like, why half? Why not 3/4? Why not, like, these thoughts are just going through my head, and then like it just kind of came to me. It's like, wow, well, because half, you clearly have the choice that's the same, but it's really our choice. Like, do you see it as the half empty, or are you going to look at the half that's full? Because half, I mean, it's equal on either side.
Yep.
And whenever we're facing adversity, and I understand there's people going through their really tough times, and
Yes.
You gotta embrace it, acknowledge it, and don't try to like push those away. But then you also have to look for that positivity and the opportunity. And I think it's great that you were able to start a business during this time, when a lot of people are like worried about closing their businesses. And like you said, there's so much opportunity if you just kind of tweak your thinking. Like, well, I have this store that's selling stuff. Well, perfect opportunity for me to get my website going.
Yeah.
Or
well, look at all the people who have sewing skills.
Yeah.
That now have been making masks, for their friends and families and things like that. There's just a lot of things have opened up, and because we live in a capitalistic society, thank God, where we can have the freedom to really be entrepreneurs and exercise that creativity. A lot of things actually have really been very positive from this. I mean, because of the act which Donald Trump allowed Ford and some of these other bigger companies to now start making ventilators and making equipment. It's actually been very positive for the country, and it will be really, think about from this point forward, if anything like this happens again, which more than likely it will, right? We're going to be better prepared. And that's where learning from adversity and defeat comes in. We're going to be better prepared, may not have the significance of this in the future. It may be significant, but it may not ever be like this again, just because we're going to be more prepared. We're going to know what to do faster, sooner, all of those kind of things, and I think that's going to help us. The other thing I was going to mention too was that opportunity is really it's kind of where mindset and action meet. And what I mean by that is that when you're looking and you're actively looking for something, then you tend to be more proactive in actually going after it, putting action behind it. So right now is a really good time to be able to do that. And this is a great time for a career reset for a lot of people too. I mean, I can tell you, we've been looking at hiring several key people for our team, and I can tell you the applicants have been amazing. I mean, much better than I could have ever imagined, because there's a lot of people out of work and looking for work. So I think for those businesses that are still, operating and looking to grow, there's going to be a great talent pool to draw from, which can be good for all of us.
Yeah.
And again, I remember in 2008, Jacob. So I was living in Las Vegas.
Oh, okay.
And that's when everything fell off the cliff, and of course Vegas became a ghost town, literally. I mean, it was that place was a complete disaster, and I experienced that for 2-3 years.
Yeah.
And finally, I moved here to Dallas, where it was much different. But I can tell you that I went through a career reset at that time, and it was the best thing that ever happened to me. I ended up getting involved in another business that I had I would have never dreamed I'd even be involved in something like that. and it just worked out perfect for me. And there's a lot of people out there. But if you have a positive mindset, you're looking for the opportunity, and you can learn from adversity and defeat, I believe those opportunities find you as much as you find them.
That is, and I think to add in a little bit on that is you're going to find what you're looking for. So if you're out there looking for the opportunity, you'll find the opportunity. But if you're out there looking for the negativity, you're going to definitely find the negativity. It's only like a step away,
Absolutely.
With every, I don't want to say tragedy, but every trial, that's the much better word, that we face, it serves a purpose. And I think every trial has been we have been brought to every trial for a reason, to bring something out within us. So whether that's to make us stronger, or sometimes it's to go back to the drawing board, which is tough to do. But like you said, just hitting the reset buttons. And so this month we're also it's our gratitude month. We're focusing on gratitude, and I consider you the gratitude guru with the Gratitude Effect book. And so I'm curious, what connection, if any, is there between showing gratitude on a daily basis and your ability to see the positive and finding opportunity?
Yeah. Well, I believe that gratitude is really the catalyst that fuels a positive mental attitude. And it kind of, what it does is it ignites a chemical reaction in your brain when you start to express gratitude, which automatically starts to feed the positivity in your life. And so if you're grateful for what you have, and I know a lot of people may be listening to this thinking, right now I don't have a lot to be grateful for.
Yeah.
And maybe true, I don't know your situation, but what I can say is you have something you can be grateful for. Because if you're not homeless, if you have food, if you're able to have some money in the bank and you're still being able to pay your bills somewhat, that kind of thing, there's a lot to be grateful for. Because, the way that this whole virus has hit everybody, I mean, it's literally put a stop, temporarily on just about everything.
Oh, yeah.
And so, this is something we've never experienced before for many of us. And so, it's new. But by being grateful and thankful for what you do have, it allows yourself to be more open to be able to receive more into your life. I'm a firm believer, like if you were to take your hands and cup them and it was filled with gratitude, and if you open it up and let it go, the gratitude goes out, and then it plants seeds, and it can come back to you, right? But if you hold on to it, it doesn't go out, it doesn't do anything, it's just staying with you, then the only thing it can do is feed you, and it can only feed you up to the level in which where you're at in your life. So you're missing out on the opportunity to not only bless others, but also just to be able to, depending on what your spiritual belief is, whether it's the Creator God or the universe, whatever it may be, but you're allowing that higher power to be able to acknowledge that, hey, I'm grateful for what I do have, and I'm ready to receive more.
Yeah.
And I think that's really important.
And I like that idea of that image that kind of came to my mind is Christmas. And I know not everybody celebrates it, so whatever holiday where you get presents, opening presents, and you've gifted something to your cousin, your whoever, and they open it and they're like, oh, great. They're not very appreciative of what you've given them. For me, like the best example I know is that I don't want to give them something else again because they didn't really like what I gave them the first time, And so for me, one of the things that I think about is that when you're showing gratitude for things that you already have, it's saying, oh, wow, I really appreciate this. And then by showing that gratitude, that's letting God know, hey, I really appreciate what you've done for me. And then he'll bless you with more.
Absolutely. I believe that's a universal principle. Yeah.
And I think we need to learn to do that more often. And I think it's not even just, it's easy to be grateful for the good things that have happened to us. But we also need to be able to show gratitude, I think, for the bad things too. I've been reading recently Drew Brees' Unleash the Power Within, I think. A very interesting book. And he goes through and he's talking about how he tore his ACL in high school, and then he tore his shoulder his last season with the Chargers before he went to the Saints. And he was like talking about how he was like, without those things, I would never have ended up where I was. I wouldn't have ended up at Purdue. I would not have met my wife. I wouldn't have ended up at the Saints. I wouldn't have gone through all the rehab and made my shoulder stronger. I wouldn't have made my knees stronger and had the stretches and the exercises to practice to continue building up that strength. And so I think sometimes at the time it's hard to see and show that gratitude, but I like that afterwards he's like, I'm really appreciative and I wouldn't go back and change that.
Yeah. It's an very interesting perspective since we're talking about football. I just saw I think it was a 60-60 on ESPN about the previous quarterback for the Kansas City Chiefs, Alex Smith.
Uh-huh.
He had a devastating injury.
Oh, yeah, that was brutal with the Redskins, right?
Yeah, actually, you're right. The Redskins, not the Chiefs. I'm sorry. Yeah, it was right. And
he was with the Chiefs, though.
Yeah,
but yeah.
And so he has that terrible break, has the operation, and then he gets this infection. Yep. And this infection goes up his entire leg. They're talking about possibly amputating it. They had to do all this surgery, took out all this muscle. I mean, basically, he had to go and rehab at a military hospital because his injury was so like an IED. Yeah. Exploding and kind of blowing apart his leg. That's how bad it was. And so, but when he was interviewed, he said, I'm just so grateful that I got to keep my leg. I mean, his perspective now on gratitude and what he's really thankful for, he can walk. He's trying to come back. I don't know if that will ever happen for him, but even if it doesn't, just to get back to where he can, walk and run a little bit and that kind of thing, it's a miracle, really. Yeah. And he has an incredible amount of gratitude of where he's at. So he didn't end up coming back, but his perspective is that I didn't die, I didn't lose my leg. There was things that could have happened, and so that I guess that's what I'm talking about. It just really, your mindset is really key to it. He made the choice instead of thinking, my goodness, I'm never going to do this again. How awful is that? He thought, wow, I'm just really grateful that I can still be with my family. I can still do things with my kids. Those kind of things. So it's all a matter of perspective and mindset, and that's where gratitude really comes in.
And I like that you're bringing up about the perspective, and a lot of times it's hard for us to get that perspective. Like, I've never almost lost my leg, so but hearing that example, I'm sitting here, I'm like, wow, like I'm really fortunate to have that. And I think listening to people share their stories, reading about it, just watching it on the TV, whatever, ESPN 60 or wherever, that's the powerful thing about stories and people sharing their stories, is that it can help you, like, wow, you came back. And time and time again, I'm amazed that doctors are always telling them, you can't come back, you can't, but you never can judge the power that's within somebody. And
that's really where the gratitude effect, Jacob, came out of, is that I had a near-death experience, and I fell off a 2-story roof.
Oh, right.
And got very messed up. And we were talking just before we went on the air about my spinal column surgery that I had in June of 2019. Yeah. And I feel great. I feel so excited about my life. But there was a while there where I was just really having a hard time just kind of functioning a little bit with walking, sitting, just being able to do anything normal. And it was hard not to have thoughts occasionally of I just miss doing some of the things I used to be able to do. Just going to the gym and being able to work out, being able to feel athletic and fit, and it's been a while since I felt like that. So, but now my perspective is I'm just so grateful to have, what I've got. Still got some stiffness, as I mentioned to you guys. I feel stiff a lot, so I have to kind of move around and that kind of thing. But man, the alternative is so much worse. I mean, I could be basically in a wheelchair, literally, which is kind of the direction I was going in, because I could not walk. It was so painful and so hard for me, and my back would spasm, and it was just terrible. So I'm grateful, really grateful for where I'm at. Am I the same person I used to be before my accident? I'm not, and I have to accept that. But it's the new normal for me. But I look at some of the potential alternatives, and boy, I feel very blessed and really grateful where I'm at today. So that's how the gratitude effect came about. It came out of a real challenging situation, and I had to really deal with my mindset during that time, because at first I was angry, and then I went through a little bit of depression, and it was basically like grief. I was having to grieve what I lost. I went from being somebody who could, ride a bike, swim, run. I mean, basically somewhat of a triathlon type person, and really lean and fit, and I couldn't do any of that. And so it's been an incredible journey. But I've learned a lot about adversity and defeat and your mindset and how you get through that.
Man, I can't even imagine everything that you were going through and feeling. I want to share, if it's okay. The doctor said that you would only be about 80%.
Right.
And talking about the power within, you're above that,
I am.
right?
I'm definitely above that.
And so congratulations to you for taking the bull by the horns and, wrestling that beast to the ground, because you can move.
Yeah, they were so shocked at the hospital because after my surgery, within hours, I was up out of my bed and I had a walker, and I was just walking these laps around the, in the hospital, and they were like, "My goodness, we've never seen anything like this." But what they didn't realize was, if you had been in my shoes and knew what it was like to not walk, literally. Now to be able to walk and feel good about it, I was like, let's get on this and let's do this. So, again, the perspective,
And I think a lot of perspective for many people comes from facing a big trial or adversity like that. Is that always necessary to...
Well, here's the thing. So life, I believe that it's impossible to get through life without having some challenges. It's just, life is challenging. That's, to me, that's really what life is about. It's how you handle those that makes all the difference, right? And so,
100%.
You're going to have challenges. That's just the way it works. Are you going to have a near-death experience? Not everybody has that, right? Necessarily. But people are going to have challenges, whether it's a broken relationship, maybe even a divorce, issues with children, maybe workplace issues. There's so many things that can happen. And then you throw in maybe some other things that can really complicate, things, maybe having a horrible experience at a church or something like that, and then it affects your relationship with God, and then, it just kind of spirals. So a lot of things can happen to people. But I believe that if you can keep a positive perspective, and especially one that has gratitude at the center of it, you'll find that you'll be able to handle those much better and easier when they come along.
No, I love that. I just lost my train of thought. Everything that you said just kind of blew me away. I'm like, wow. No, but it's so important, and you touch back again on the choice, and it's not easy to make that choice. So, and sometimes I think we can get in this rut. How do we get out of that if we do get into it? This poor me, or nothing good's ever going to happen. That negative mindset.
Well, a lot of it has to do with, you have to ask yourself the question: do I want to get different results, or do I want to get the same results? If you want to get the same results, then you just keep the same attitude and you're going to keep getting the same thing, right? You're just going to keep repeating. It's a pattern. You're just going to keep repeating it. So for you to actually get different results, for you to actually have change happen, you're going to have a different mindset. It's just going to happen. So if you want to stay the same and you want your life to continue to have a lot of challenges, then don't choose not to.
Stay in your comfort zone.
Stay in your zone and do that. But if you really want, if you're kind of like sick and tired of being sick and tired and you're just really ready for something different, then having a different mindset will make all the difference. And you can start out by doing something very easy. When you wake up in the morning, instead of thinking, the first thing you think of is, something bad, like, oh boy, here we go, or something like that. Think about something that you can be grateful for. I'm thankful for yesterday I was able to, do these tasks, and I was able to accomplish something that is very small, but it meant something to me, and I'm grateful for that.
Yeah.
Oftentimes when we do a Skype with my granddaughter, the next day my wife and I will pray together, and I will always be grateful that thank you for allowing us to have that opportunity, right?
Yeah.
Because technology is nice today. That
it's so crazy.
I can, my granddaughter lives in Washington. I'm here in Texas, obviously, and so, I don't get to see her more than a couple times a year at best.
Yeah.
And so it's nice to have the technology. I can see her at least once a week, and so that makes it really, really nice. And so I'm really grateful for that, right?
Yeah.
Something small, something not very significant to most people, but for us, it's something really grateful. So when you wake up, come up with a list. And one of the things I've done in my book, Jacob, is in the back of it. It's a 66-day challenge.
Yes.
And what it does is it allows people, I've given you 66 things here that you can be thankful for. And so you just focus on that for the day, and then you just, express your gratitude for that particular item for the day. And what you're going to find out is at the end of 66 days, which is how long it takes to kind of form a habit.
Yeah.
Once you do that, you'll start to find yourself being more grateful. You'll start to find yourself you're looking for even the little things in life. You're like, wow, I can be grateful for that. It's like yesterday, I mean, I know we had, I think it was one of the rainiest Memorial Days on record, but my perspective was, I'm really grateful for the rain because summer's coming, and who knows when we're going to get rain next, right?
Exactly.
So you have to enjoy it. It was 60-something degrees yesterday. It was raining. For me, from Washington State, I felt like I was at home. I felt good. But I know for a lot of people who've grown up in Texas, it was way too cold, and I get that.
Yeah.
But what I'm saying is that you got to be grateful for all of it, because you just never know when things can change.
Exactly.
So,
And I think too, when we're talking about change, I like how you're talking about just doing one thing a day for 66 days. And it was actually interesting because my friend and I just had a conversation about the 66 days because she had done a challenge, and it was just called the 60-day challenge to develop new habits and stuff. And she was like, oh, so I really need to go 6 days longer to really develop these habits. And so she's restarting the challenge, and she's going to go the full 66 days with it and see if it's do her own little experiment with it.
The personal development field is actually discovered.
Yeah.
And this is really something that's, unfortunate, because, we've been teaching for decades, that it takes 20-something days to form a habit, right?
Yeah.
And what it did is it made people very frustrated, because if they didn't have what they wanted within that time frame, they felt like very defeated. And that's why you see a lot of New Year's resolutions quit fairly quickly.
Generally by February, I think, right?
Yeah. So if you can understand, it takes a lot longer to form a habit than what people think. And I think realistically, we're finding in the personal development world that 66 is kind of the minimum, and it can be several hundred days depending on what you're trying to accomplish.
Okay.
So it really, you just the point is that you just need to stay focused. You need to stay determined, and same thing with being grateful. It may not happen quickly for you, especially if you tend to be a person who is fairly negative, maybe pessimistic about things in your life. It may take you a little bit, but if you practice it and you make it a habit and form that every single day, you will find that it will become easier for you to do that.
Yeah. And, I think there's some people out there that think that change does have to, in their mind, needs to be like a big change or something. I'm more of a proponent.
There you go.
Supporter.
Proponent.
Yeah. I'm gonna go with supporter because I can say that. That of making those small changes but consistently. We were talking before too how my wife and we're finally able to go back to the gym, but we're also trying to eat healthier, and so it's not necessarily like we're quitting everything all at once. We're making smaller changes, and she's like, "Hey, I didn't do this today." I was like, "That's awesome!" And so like just celebrating those little changes that you do consistently, those end up adding up to those successful changes.
Yeah. Before I had the surgery, one of the things that the surgeon had asked me to do was to lose some weight.
Mm-hmm.
So I really worked on my nutrition, just like you were just talking about. And what I did is, so instead of drinking 2 or 3 Cokes a week, having a maple bar or something like that once a week, I have a sweet tooth, so I like sweets. What I did is I just took one of those things and eliminated them once, from the week.
Okay.
And then I tried to add in a healthy thing. And so by the time I was like 2 months into this, I pretty much had most of the sugars kind of gone. I still had a few, but I had actually changed some of my patterns, and I lost some weight, and it felt great. But it's very easy to fall back in those patterns again.
Oh yeah.
And but I guess what I'm saying is that it's good to. A lot of times when people say, like, for weight, for example, I got to quit everything. That's actually not the best way to do it, and it works, and it can work for some people. But if you, like you said, you can just eliminate one thing a week and then add in something good. You'll end up having a lot of progress.
It's going to be a lot more of a long-term effect than I think.
And the physical part of our bodies, it is long-term.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, when I had the accident, which was in 2011, so, it's been 9 years.
Yeah.
I think about all of the journey I've been on physically, and it's been kind of a long road. But the point that I'm making on this is that sometimes it takes time, and if it takes you 6 to 12 months to get where you want to be physically, then to be patient with it. It doesn't take a whole. Sometimes people don't realize it's taken you years to get where you're at today.
Yeah.
So it's not like it's going to take you a week and you're going to be like, bam, back to where you were. It takes time.
Yeah, I'm a 30-year overnight success. Yeah. Took me 30 years to get to this point.
Yeah, I hear you. And for some of us, it's taken a lot longer.
Yeah.
So you can be thankful that you're 30 years into it and you're getting it. So.
Oh, I still got a long ways to go. I know. But that's part of the fun.
It is.
Talked an awful lot about gratitude and the effects that it can have and how we can cultivate that, So as we start to show more gratitude, we're putting out more positive vibes. Good things are coming back towards us because like you said earlier, what you put out is what you're going to get back. You're putting out negativity, you're going to get negativity back. Words today are hard. But so with the idea of opportunity, we're getting more opportunities that are coming at us. How is it that we can't say yes to everything?
Right.
So what's your advice to people to discern what's a good opportunity for them and what's not?
I think right now it's actually fairly easy because, we talked a little bit about a career reset,
Mm-hmm.
and just kind of looking at doing things differently, and maybe looking at opportunities that we weren't really open to. Now we're a lot more open to them.
Yeah.
And so I think one of the things that you can do is not jumping in. I think is really important. I've been interviewing a lot of people, and it's interesting how some people just have to have a job right now, and they're not even really taking the time to get to see what you have to offer, that kind of thing, and they're kind of jumping on the first thing.
Yeah.
Which I've learned in my life that can sometimes not be a very good thing. Sometimes you need to be a little bit slower, a little bit more reflective, weigh out the pros and cons, and just when you're looking for an opportunity, you need to blend your skill set, which this has been a great time for people to develop skills.
Yeah.
That maybe they didn't have before.
A lot more free time.
Yeah, a lot more free
for some
time.
people.
You see a lot of videos of people learning to play the guitar, play the drums, speak a foreign language.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of people are doing, different things to develop skills. And that is a great way to make yourself more available and more advantageous looking to a company or to another business or another opportunity.
Yeah.
So I just think that people need to be open-minded, first of all. You got to be open-minded that there could be something else out there for me. And then be thinking about what it is that you really want. I think that's a great question to ask. What is it that I really want? And then think about, okay, so what would it take for me to, and then oftentimes when you ask that question, what do I want? Oftentimes the next question is, who do I need to become to be able to get what I want? And that's where the development and the growth comes in, where, okay, so if this is what I want, I'm not there yet, I need to grow, I need to do this to be able to get there.
It's not I'll get it and then I'll become that.
Yeah.
You have to build up to it.
For example, so I own an insurance agency here in Dallas, and to be able to even offer or talk to people about insurance, you have to have your license.
Yeah.
And so a lot of people will put in, they'll answer our ad for our agency, and then when I have a phone interview with them, I have to explain to them, insurance is heavily regulated, and it's really, the state really watches over it, and you can't talk or even, have a conversation with people about insurance if you're not licensed. I mean, that's just the way it's regulated that way. And so people need to get their license. So that's one area that I've been trying to coach people on is how do you go about getting that?
Yeah.
So, a lot of people want to start a business. Well, you gotta jump through a lot of hoops to be able to do that, as far as understanding what it is that you want, how are you going to get there, and you can't just say I want to do this and then you need to get coaching, you need to get educated, you need to find a mentor, you need to find some people that have done what you want to do so that you can get some feedback and emulate what they're doing.
And with the business idea, something I was thinking I would do is I would just sit down with people that have a business similar to what I want to start and ask them what's worked for them, what do they, maybe see if I can get a tour just so I can kind of see like the inner workings. I mean, probably they're like, no, but it doesn't hurt to ask, but
and just the mindset. So a lot of people think they have to start a business, but you can acquire a business like I did, where you have someone who's built something for 20 or 30 years and it's really good.
Yeah.
And so now I'm just buying something that's really good, and now I'm adding my little secret sauce to it, and now it's even better, right?
Yeah.
And so that's really the magic of acquiring a business versus starting a business. And so there's a mindset right there. A lot of people are like, I always thought you had to start it. I never thought about acquiring it. Well, people sell their business. A lot of people have businesses for sale, and there's going to be a lot more. So there's going to be a lot more opportunity for people to acquire a business if that's something that they want to do. So again, it's perspective, it's mindset. Be grateful for what you have, and be ready and open for
what's coming. And another thing I want to touch on, and you talked about kind of like knowing yourself. I think a big part of that knowing kind of who you are and what you stand for kind of helps with making that decision of this is a good opportunity for me and this is not. I know for me, things that pertain to health and helping people. So those help me. Like, am I really affecting people in a positive way by doing this? Am I making a difference? Am I helping improve my health, other people's health by doing this? If the answer is not really, then I kind of I have to pass on this, even though it might be like a great opportunity, but it doesn't align with my values. You know.
Good, great point. So if you take kind of like your identity, your purpose, your mission in life, then you couple that with your values, your character, your personality, and you mix all that together, you should kind of see a path clear before you of kind of where you want to go and what you want to do. I was just having a kind of a little coaching session with our team this morning, and we talked a little bit about, your calling in life versus your vocation. And, I said, you guys are here. This is how you make your living, right? You're in insurance, and that's what you're a producer. That's what you do. But that may not be your calling. More than likely, it's not your calling. And so I really challenge them to be thinking about what it is that they feel like they were created to really do. It's not that what they're doing is bad, but it's just, there's kind of what you do to survive every day and pay the bills and all that. And then there's, what am I really here for? And that's, when you can answer that question, then I believe the opportunity can open up for you to be able to do other things.
And it becomes, like you said, things become a lot more clearer because you have that foundation, I want to say. Before we end up wrapping up, what advice would you give our listener, or what is one thing you wish everybody knew or would practice more?
Well, obviously, to make a choice, make a decision every day to have a great and a positive day. Because I really believe, biblically speaking, we're given counsel that you can't worry about tomorrow because tomorrow hasn't come. You can't worry about yesterday because yesterday's gone. So the only day you can really worry about is the day that you have here. And so, whatever time you get up, if you're an early riser, you're up early in the morning, you've got all these hours that you have a decision to make about what you're going to do with it. And you want to be able to lay your head down on your pillow at night, go to sleep thinking, I improved a little bit today. I'm a better person today than I was yesterday. I moved a little closer to my goals, those kind of things. That can really make your life really fulfilling, and you feel like you're moving in a good direction. And so I really would encourage people to make a decision to make the day that they're living in the best day that they can make it. Don't worry about tomorrow. Don't worry about the next day, because they haven't come yet. We have no idea what's going to happen those days, but we do know we have today. And just be able to have the strength and the power and make those decisions to deal with what you got to deal with today. It'll make your life a lot easier to kind of cope with and handle, and keep yourself from the really big peaks and the really low valleys, and you can have more of a level to your life.
No, I love that. And I think one thing I'm personally trying to do too is be more present.
Yes.
I hope everybody else out there takes that advice, because I'm working on it too.
But I think the fact that believe it or not, I think the last 60 days have been a real eye-opening experience for a lot of people. I think spending more time with their children, their spouses, just having a little slower pace, realizing how stressful maybe their life was and how different it is now. I think it's given people a whole different perspective, and maybe even allowed them to catch a glimpse of, you know what, I could do this every day, or I should be able to do this at least 3 days a week, right? So maybe now I'm only going to work 4 or 5 days a week versus 7. People are, I really can sense people are starting to make choices about their lives and their future, kind of like, okay, well, I've kind of seen now that there's something different. It's possible.
Yeah, and it's going to be more of a balance, I think.
Yeah.
So that's awesome.
Yeah.
Well, thank you so much for
Thank you,
coming on the
Jacob.
show.
Appreciate the opportunity.
I highly recommend, if y'all have not, give the Gratitude Effect a read. And where we can find it on.
Yes, you can go to thegratitudeeffect.net, which is our landing page. It's got a great video of me kind of telling my story, and it's got some testimonials and some things there. So you can buy the book there, and of course you can go to Amazon as well, and take a look at that as well. Yeah.
Excellent. Definitely. So if you are looking to increase the amount of gratitude you have in your life, definitely a good read. I know I've read it and went through the 66 days, and it was life transform. It transformed my life, y'all. Wow. They let me on the air. Can you guys believe that? That is crazy. It was a very good read and very eye-opening for me. So, thank you again for being on the show.
I'm honored. I'm glad to be here, Jacob.
And for everybody listening out there, we're here to help spread the positivity and help people live better lives. And so I hope that you guys have gotten as much from this conversation as I have. And maybe somebody came to mind during this conversation. I highly recommend that you share this with them. This could be make the difference in their life. It could help them switch that flip. Yeah. Words right now, y'all, are bad for me. But, it could help them turn things around. And so please share. And as always, if you only learn to do one thing, learn to make a difference. Y'all have a good night.